It was a big day in Wisconsin for the dental industry as Governor Tony Evers signed 5 bipartisan bills into law at North Central Technical College that's in Wausau. The legislation focuses on improving access to dental health care in rural communities and increasing or improving the dental workforce. The 2024 Wisconsin Act 89, that's what it's called. It allows technical colleges in the state to get funding to start or expand a dental program. The governor says the impact of the dental care is just as important as other forms of health care.
Oral health, it impacts every aspect of your life, and so making sure that that availability for people that struggle, for people that don't have access, they now will have access.
The governor says this legislation signed will also help move forward the efforts to addressing dental needs. He adds it's an important piece in mental health and can help people have a good, well-balanced life and thrive here in the Badger State.